After their concert in Busan on October 15th to promote the city's bid to host the 2030 World Expo, BTS members announced plans to enlist in the military, starting with Jin this year. So what has been the response to BTS's decision to serve its country? What are the potential ripple effects of BTS's absence on the music industry and beyond? And what are BTS's plans before its reunion as a group in the year 2025? Welcome to Issues and Insiders. BTS debuted in the year 2013, with its members becoming the first Korean artists to hit #1 on both the US Billboard Hot 100 and Global 200 charts with their Grammy-nominated single Dynamite. Now, BTS members are embarking on a new journey to serve their country, and for more on that, I have Andres Sanchez Braun here in the studio. Andres, welcome back.
Thanks. Always nice to be here.
Right. I also have Nicolas Rocca with us. Nicolas, it's good to see you again.
Good to be back.
Right, Andres, let's start with you then. You covered the BTS recent concert in Busan. Let's begin with a few words on that. You were there in person, of course, right?
Yes, I was there in person. So was Nicolas. We were there together, and I got to say it was an incredible experience for many reasons. In the first place, we were actually able to meet a lot of people that had flown to Busan, all the way to Busan, from countries like the Philippines, the US, Japan. And most of them actually didn't even have tickets. They had not been able to win a ticket in the raffles, but they still wanted to be there with the band for this very special concert. Then the display, I think, on the stands was spectacular. I think at one point during the concert, I was actually focusing more on what was going on with the audience than what was going on the stage, because the energy of ARMY that day was really something else. Then it was great to see BTS perform again, because, you know, with the pandemic, they have hardly had any chance to perform except for these concerts that they performed on in March this year. And it was good to see that their energy, in my opinion, remains intact. They still love what they do. And I think it was also very special because of the fact that Jimin and Jungkook are actually from Busan, and it was a great opportunity to promote their city and their bid for Expo 2030. And then I think I would say that the mise en scène, or the layout of the concert, was a little different from other occasions. I felt it was, for some reason, a little more compact, it felt a little more intimate. The band members were actually closer together while performing on stage. So I think it was a bit of a, not a farewell message, but a see you soon kind of message, as we actually found out 2 days later when they actually announced that they were going to enlist for military service. So all in all, I think a very, very special concert that we were very lucky to witness.
Right, and staying with what Andres has just said, Nicolas, the team itself, it ended months and months of debate over whether or not they would be going to the military, and members have announced that they will be enlisting with Jin starting this year. What are your thoughts on this particular decision?
First of all, I think it's good to have an answer at the end, because, I mean, there's been a bill to postpone it in the National Assembly when Min Ju-tang was in power. I mean, so there's been maybe years even of speculation. So I think it's good to have an answer. And the deadline, as you mentioned, was pretty soon, because Jin's birthday is in December. I mean, I understand both sides. On one hand, I could understand that people could think that it's good that BTS doesn't go to the military because of the service that they give to the nation, and because also classical musicians and sports superstars can be allowed to have an exemption. But also I think it's good that, in a way, they announced that they get treated like any other South Korean man. I think it's also good that it came from HYBE. I mean, that the agency announced it and not the government. I think it's a good communication point. And I think it was actually what the fans wanted at the concert. We discussed with some of them. And I remember one fan that flew from Los Angeles to see the concert and that didn't have any tickets. So she was basically here to see it from outside the stadium, that told me that, waiting is not a problem, and that's what being an army is about. And you can wait 2, 3, 4 years, and they'll wait, the time that needs to be waited. So I think it's good to have a final answer in the end.
Right. And Andres, some pundits claim that BTS's decision to enlist is the most sensible. Do you agree?
I actually do. I think it was the most sensible decision. I agree also with what Nico has said. I think for two reasons this was a very sensible thing to do. On the one hand, I think the timing was perfect because we might remember that this summer the band members announced that they were going to try to focus a little bit more on their personal projects and move away a little bit, move away from their band commitments, so to speak. So I think the timing is perfect in that sense. They actually mentioned that they felt very tired, that they felt very drained, that was actually affected their creativity as a band. So I think actually this break that they're going to take is actually going to be a breather for them. And it's the perfect time to fulfill their military service. The second reason would be the optics, as you were pointing out. I think the band members saying, and they've said this so many times before, every time they were asked, they said, look, our intention is to fulfill our obligations with the country. As able young men, we actually have to, do our military service. And I think it speaks very, very positively of them. And, the Korean people can see that these 7 young men are committed, just like any other Korean men, to their obligations. So all in all, I think very, very sensible decision.
Great. And against that particular backdrop, though, Nicolas, as you mentioned, there are some observers who are claiming that Korea stands to lose billions of dollars as the group itself heads to the military. Now, Hyundai Research Institute, for its part, says BTS alone accounts for about $3.6 billion to the Korean economy. It's equivalent, I understand, to about the contribution of 26 small companies.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and this study was actually held in 2018, so we can imagine that maybe not during the pandemic, but now maybe it was, even bigger. We also witnessed at the stadium, the impact. People flew to Korea just to go see the concert, just to be in the city where the concert was, and they were buying, different type of merch. They were here to attend a lot of the BTS events. They ate in restaurants. They consumed in hotels. Of course, it's a huge economic impact. But BTS, is also in a global. It's part of Hallyu, and Hallyu is diverse, and we must not forget that, for instance, video games is about a quarter of the cultural export. Korea's got other assets for its cultural, field, and I think also BTS wanted to take a pause. So I think it's healthy that they do so, and it's hard, to imagine what economic impact it will concretely have, because maybe there will also be other bands that are going to, show up, and maybe won't be BTS level, but it could also have its own economic impact. There's also going to be the solo albums that they're going to do that can, bring also money to Korea. So I think probably it's going to be, a loss of funds for Korea in some ways, but I'm not too worried for the cultural sector in this country.
Right, we'll keep our fingers crossed for that. Andres, with regard to BTS's global popularity, what can you tell us about its standing over in Spain?
Well, actually, BTS, like almost in any other country, is pretty big in Spain. But I would have to say, actually, that they are even bigger and absolutely huge in Latin America, actually. They are bigger there than they are in Spain. Maybe for one very simple reason. BTS has been to Brazil performing. They've been there 4 times. They've been to Mexico 3 times. They've been to Chile twice. And that actually does have an impact, because the band was already visiting and performing in Latin America in their early stages, like in 2014-15. And, that actually has an impact on fans. I think the reason why BTS is so popular in Latin America is just for the same reason that they're popular in Asia or the United States. People feel a connection when they listen to their music. They read the lyrics. They find their dancing skills to be amazing, etc., etc. And as of coming with Spain, the thing was that they actually had a concert planned in Barcelona on their last global tour, but unfortunately, as we may remember, it had to be canceled because of the outbreak of the COVID pandemic. So hopefully, after 2025, when they reunite, fingers crossed, they'll be able to perform in Spain for the first time.
Right, hopefully. And Nicolas, what can you tell us, that is, about BTS's fan base over in France?
Well, first of all, they have a very big fan base in France. They filled out the biggest stadium in France, which is named Stade de France, and it's about 80,000, 90,000 people. They did that twice, so that I think says a lot about the number of fans that they have in France. And I think it's important to note that in France there's a global popularity of K-pop as a whole. I mean, this summer when I was back home, I've noticed that it's called Fnac. It's the biggest CD retailer in France. The K-pop section was bigger than any other section. It was the first time I witnessed this since I've been in France. It was bigger than hip hop, bigger than rap. So that says a lot. And I think the recipe of the success of BTS in France is, like Andres said, the dancing skills. But I think what appeals to the fan and what they mention a lot is the direct connection that they feel, because BTS communicated a lot about the hardships, for instance, that they had when they were not a successful group at the beginning, and they tried to pass a message of authenticity in a way that I think was kind of new for the K-pop industry, and I think that's what their trademark was in a way, and that might explain the popularity of BTS in France.
Right. And back here in the country, Andres, before taking up his mandatory duties, Jin announces his first solo single today, and he's also poised to play with Coldplay, which probably will be his final stage performance before he enlists. That being said, Andres, what do you believe are the broader implications of cross-border collaborations in the global music industry?
Yeah, well, as you just mentioned, actually, Jin's solo song, The Astronaut, just was released a little more than an hour ago, and I checked on YouTube. It already had like 2.2 million views, so that's pretty impressive, of course. And Jin actually is in Buenos Aires to perform tonight, probably his last performance with Coldplay, so certainly a very exciting event. And regarding these cross-border collaborations, I think actually that's always a very good way to expand your presence in other markets or try to appeal to different targets, because you're collaborating with many times the fact that you mix cultural sensitivities that might be a little different, and wonderful things can come out of there. I mean, when it comes to musical hits, we see French band Daft Punk comes to mind. They've done so many collaborations that are actually super hits, with The Weeknd, with Pharrell Williams, with Julian Casablancas. We see it a lot in the Spanish-speaking industry when Spanish artists and Colombian and Puerto Rican artists come together to do like reggaeton / hip-hop songs. The same thing goes for the States. We see so many crossovers, and I think that Korean artists actually have to get on that train. I mean, it's perfectly normal. People like K-pop. K-pop is not a niche anymore, a niche product, and BTS is clear proof of that. And this, let's remind ourselves that this is not the first time that BTS works with a foreign artist. So I can recall, well, Halsey, right? They released A Boy With Love. Then Steve Aoki decided to remix their Mic Drop song. And they've been great hits. So I think it's a great way to appeal to broader audience.
Right, it really is. Nicolas, the big plan now is to have BTS reunite in the year 2025. And while we wait for that year, what do you see BTS members doing, perhaps, to make to make sure that their absence makes ARMY's hearts grow fonder, as the saying goes? We have like about a minute.
Okay, so I think first of all there will be solo albums, like Jin just released one. There will be also, I'm pretty sure HYBE will continue to communicate. The boys are going to continue to communicate on social networks with their fan, but also we're probably going to see them in different settings. RM is going to have his own show, educative show online, I understood. They will have innovative ways to make the fans wait. That being said, will they still be as big when they come back? I think that's the bigger question. I've seen that another group, Stray Kids, just top Billboard 200 and became the third Korean boys band to do so. So will they still be on top when they come back? I think that's the big question we have.
Right, and that is something we'll have to wait and see then. All right, as always, Nicolas, thank you very much for your time, and Andres, thank you very much for your insights.
Thanks for having us here. And as BTS said, I hope the best is yet to come, right?
Right, fingers crossed for that. All right. On that note, we end this week's editions of Issues and Insiders. Thank you for watching. Have a good weekend.